За жалост сцената стана една идея по-празна. Тази красива арфа стоеше перфектно тук на сцената. И това, което Борислав Славов сподели с нас, беше толкова вълнуващо. Не знам дали някой забеляза, но сцената се развълнува също и имаше доста драматично падане на точно тази част от панела. Извиняваме се за което, но беше доста вдъхновяващо. И преди да... Имаме още малко време, всъщност, преди да направим обедната почивка, но така и така са разпадали нещата, всичко е развълнувано и става на вили и на могили. Нека да поканим Симо Илиев и That Must Die тук на сцената.
Take our hourglass, hero. Collect your bearings and focus your mind. And enter Death's realm once again.
You really think you can kill Death, though? We don't have a string for him.
What kind of legend would it be without fire and mayhem?
Allow me to interfere as the gods.
I want to see Death's heart encased in a prison of ice.
Death must die.
Okay, cool. So this is our game, That Must Die. I'm Simo, and I'll be sharing with you a bit of like the process behind making it and some lessons learned along the way. Yeah, that was the trailer you just saw. This is our Steam page, and we are in early access, which means the game is not complete yet. We are still actively working on it. We have the first 2 levels done, and we want to continue working on it. You can buy a copy as of now and just kind of give your feedback and help us along the way in the development process. And also, it's, as Steam says, it's an action, roguelite, bullet hell RPG game. So if you know what these tags mean, yeah. So let's jump straight to the first lesson, which is if you want to, try to make games, you should join a game jam. I know we have some game jam people in the house today, so shout out to everyone who's been involved in making game jams. They're a great experience. If you don't know what a game jam is, it's basically a weekend-long event that you can try to make a game out of. So they give you a topic or a theme, and you have to come up with something on the spot. And you can go there with like 0 experience. You can go there without knowing anything about video games, and just find the team, join the team, see like what it is to make video games. Do you like it or not? And just kind of test the waters, as well as meet people from the industry. And we have game jams in Sofia, in Plovdiv, in Varna, in all the other major cities. So if you want to do it, you should go for it. And plenty of opportunities to do so. And that's how we started our company. Before creating That Must Die, we've been going to game jams for almost a decade. So we already knew each other. We already had some experience creating these small projects. And we had, I guess, the confidence that we can pursue this and do it professionally as something that we can make a living out of. So yeah, that's lesson number 1. And next thing is you should figure out what part of game development you like. So as you know, it's a complicated product, a video game, and it involves a lot of different skills and talents to make it happen. Of course, programming, it's a software product at the end of the day, so you need someone to implement and do all the coding. Also, you have the visual aspect. You need artists to bring the characters to life, the enemies, the playable characters, the terrain, or just like user interface and just like menus and so on. And that's user experience and user interfaces are something that is like more common in the industry, in the software industry in general. You have audio, as we just discussed. Audio is a great part of games, and that includes the music, the score for the game, as well as like audio effects, or if you have voice acting like we do, and then you have to kind of mix the whole thing together, which means you need someone with experience in audio engineering. Writing is the second thing, like the next thing. You need dialogue, you need story, maybe you need some world building, you need to present the player with a lot of information via text, and that's why you need a competent writer to do it all. And the last element is, because all of these things like programming, and you can do programming for software projects, you can do like audio for like a movie, but game design is what is really unique to making video games, right? It's in the name. And game design is just how this all fits together and how you can make a playable game and think about the process of the player playing the game, what they experience, and how you can make it better. And I'm going to be talking more about game design towards the end of the talk. But for now, just remember to like figure out what you want to do, which parts of these things you like, and really try to focus on it so you have enough knowledge to contribute meaningfully to a project. Now, that being said, you kind of want to be a T-shaped professional, and this is something, it's not specific to game design, it's like self-development, business term, whatever. Basically, you have the two axes, right? So you have all these skills we just discussed on the horizontal, and then how good you are at a certain skill is the vertical component. And so if you're like a great programmer, but you don't know anything about art or audio or whatever, you just have one skill that goes deep, but you have no breadth, right? And what you rather want to be is a T-shaped person. So you have, a little bit of everything, and then you have your expertise that you really know. And that helps a lot because, surprise, surprise, you're going to have to work with people, and those people will probably have other skills, and you need to learn their language, at least on a basic level. And there are ways it's also like true. If you have someone knowing a bit of programming, for example, and he comes to me, that helps a lot with the communication. And if you have a team which is a bunch of T-shaped people, then that team can really understand each other better, communicate, and just move as a whole. And then you have all these other shapes. It's, I don't know, you have the pie shape, which is like you have two core things, and you can mix them together in unique ways, and that's good and all. But I would say just try to be T-shaped. I think that's good enough. So yeah, let's switch it up and talk about some game design. And for me personally, like the biggest thing you want to ask yourself when designing a game is what kind of an experience you want to provide to the players. and know what your game expects from those players. And for our game, we have 4 things we've identified as like important 4 aspects. So I'm going to go over them and talk about each one. So real-time skill, which is reactions, positioning. This is the first thing, and it's basically, it's like sports. You play a sport, you're immersed in the game, you're always like thinking about the moment-to-moment action, you're positioning yourself, and that adds a lot of fun to the game. It adds excitement, it adds adrenaline. It's just a fun thing to have. And also, like in our game, for example, you have this is our first major boss, Dracula, and he has these red attacks, and you have to jump away at just the right moment so you don't get hit. And it's that like little dance you're doing that really brings the game to life. Cool. So you have that, but then you also have the second aspect, which is knowledge. And this is not about like the moment-to-moment action. This is about thinking about what's your strategy, what's your like game plan. And as you start playing the game, you have no idea what's going on, right? You just started to play. So you level up, you gain a level, and these gods show up, and each of them offers you to pick a skill. You have 3 options. How do you know which one you should pick? Well, you don't know. But as you play the game more and more, you learn to understand, like, is this the right skill for my character, for like my personal play style, for the way I want to approach the game. And you build your own little strategies and tactics, and that makes you feel clever and to find like some really powerful synergies, for example. And so this is the other aspect that makes these types of games fun. It's the discovery and like internalizing the knowledge and being clever about your decisions. So meta progression, this is the third aspect, and this is common to a lot of games, especially like roguelite games. It's the definition of a roguelite. So as you play the game, you naturally get stronger. And in our game, the main thing that you like get stronger with is items. So you might find like a cool like sword that sets enemies on fire, or you can find some boots that make you move faster, or like a magical ring of something. And it's that feeling of like getting more powerful, that feeling of growing, that really like wants you to play more and more, to just get the next best thing, to improve yourself, and it adds this motivation to continue playing as a player. And it also ties nicely with the knowledge part of it, because let's say you have 2 items, and one is more defensive, the other is more aggressive. Like which one you're going to pick? It's not a clear choice. You have to think about how you want to approach it. And so you use your knowledge to help with your meta progression, which is also like a fun way to tie those things together. And meta progression also helps in other ways, in the sense that some players are naturally less experienced playing video games than others. And like a top 5% player will beat the game easily. But someone who's like, say, in the bottom 5%, this is like his first game, he'll have more trouble. But if you have meta progression, you know that if the player plays long enough, he'll get to a point where he's strong enough to beat the game. And you want to ensure like a broad range of players can enjoy your game. So this is meta progression. And the final thing is luck. Now, you have games like chess, right? You have chess, you have the board, everything is set up the same way every time, and you know, like, the better player is usually the one who wins the game. That's true for most games, for very little, actually. For most games, you need, or you have some form of luck, especially in video games. And so you need to think about the role that luck plays in your game as a game designer. Because if it's used correctly, you can use luck to bring like spice and excitement and variety into your game. One example I have here, you have this mini-map on the right, and it shows you in yellow all the different things you have in the world. So as you go along, you'll find like maybe a chest full of new items, or like a person that talks to you and gives you a bonus, or this organic seal or whatever it is. And it could be fun to just go out and explore and find something different every time. And that's how you can use luck as a way to keep the game fresh. So yeah, that's a summary of what we just talked. So real-time adds action and excitement. It's the action part of the action RPG. Knowledge is I guess, the RPG part. Interesting decisions and choices. Meta progression for a sense of growth and motivation to keep playing. And luck for variety. That's the formula. So I believe every talk should have like a personal story. I guess this is my personal story. I went to see a friend, to attend a friend's wedding in the States. I just came back from it, actually. It was great. We had a bachelor party in Vegas, as you do naturally. But then we went to see the Grand Canyon. And I was not prepared for the experience at all. It just blew me away. It was just, I've tried to capture it here, by the way. You can't really like experience it in the pictures. You have to go there to like see the scale of it and just how vast it is. And for me, it was almost like a religious experience where I was humbled by nature and just how big it is. And like the only way I could describe it is like, if you remember when you were a little kid and you saw the stars on a clear sky, and just how that childhood wonder of like seeing the stars and the vastness and the magic of the world. So that's how I would describe it. It was an amazing experience. It was the highlight of my trip. All in all, great, 10 out of 10. But then the next day, we went to see the Hoover Dam. And Hoover Dam is it's this great dam between Nevada and Arizona, and it's impressive engineering-wise. It's a great project. It took thousands of workers to build. It's actually the reason Vegas even exists now, because people needed somewhere to stay while they were working on it. So that's how Vegas came to be. But I was there, and the whole time I was there, I was thinking, I mean, it's cool and all, but I'd rather just go back and see the Grand Canyon, honestly. I mean, it doesn't even compare. It's just not as good as the Grand Canyon. It's not like this life-changing experience that I've had, right? And we went to a bunch of other stuff, in the States, but after the Grand Canyon, nothing could compare to the experience. And so the next lesson is balance is important, even in single-player games. What that means is, for multiplayer games, obviously you want balance, right? You're playing, you're putting one player against another, or a group of players facing each other, and you want to give a fair game, a fair challenge. But even in single-player games, it turns out you need to have balance. Let me show you an example. So this is one of the spells that the gods give you. It's called Gem High. Whenever an enemy dies, it drops this little crystal. We call this an experience shard. You take it and get some experience. But then also Gem High says, whenever you pick this thing up, you also attack faster, move faster, and cast your magical abilities faster for a second. But then if you pick another crystal, you keep that buff, and it actually accumulates, and you keep it for one more second. So what happens is, you kill some skeletons or whatever, you get crystals, you become faster and stronger, so you kill more skeletons, and you get more crystals, and that just accumulates again, and you become even faster and even stronger, and you do this again and again and again, and it accumulates infinitely into this positive loop of reinforcement loop. And so what happens is you become this complete force of destruction. And as a player, this feels incredible, right? You're just shooting like 1,000 missiles per second. You're killing enemies before you can even see them. You just feel like a god, basically. But see, it's the same thing as the Grand Canyon. Like you try this, and then everything else feels like garbage. It's like, why would I pick anything else? I have Gem High now. I don't need to see anything else. I don't need, like, we spent a lot of time making dozens of different abilities, but when a player sees this, they're like, I just take this every time. I win with this every time. I don't care about the rest. They're joke. They're like garbage, trash. I don't want them. I want to play with this thing. And as a game designer, that's a big problem because you just like killed your game pretty much. But you have a brilliant idea. You say, like, I know what I'm going to do. Let's just make everything be boosted and powerful, and everything should be as strong as Gem High, right? Players will be happy. You're happy as a developer. Everyone just lives happily ever after in this like beautiful world you've created. Yeah, that doesn't really work out. And that brings me back to this slide. So let's see what happens when you have skills like Gem High in the game. So real-time skill. Remember that like little dance you do with the monsters, attacking them, and just like the adrenaline and the action. When you have Gem High, you're killing them before you can even see them, like off screen. You don't have the challenge, the action, the excitement of the game anymore. So that's out of the way. Knowledge. That interesting decision that you have to take about like how I want to approach this. Well, basically, the decision is, do I want to take Gem High or I want to take something else? And you know you want to take Gem High. So the decision's been made. So no more interesting decisions. And meta progression, like that feel that you need to become more powerful and to grow, you're already indestructible, pretty much. You don't have that as well. And all these cool locations that we spent countless hours creating, I mean, you can pretty much sit in one spot, go make like a cup of coffee, leave the game playing, whatever. So yeah, you just killed your game with this one skill. Congratulations. And you've made this thing, which is like a SWAT machine. And you press play, you hit the jackpot, you're amazed, you get all these flashing lights. You press play again. Wow, you've hit the jackpot. You win again. And that gets boring really fast. Like, you try this 5 times and you're like, oh, these lights are giving me a headache. I don't care. There's no meaning behind it anymore. And yeah. So we decided to nerf it, and turns out players don't like that. And as a game designer, like you knew this was the right decision. Like if Gem High is up here and the other skills are here, and you can't do this, then you have to do the other way around, right? But yeah, players do not like that. That's lesson number 6. And it's funny because I've been on the other side as well. Like I've been a player playing the games I like, and whenever someone nerfs it's like they give you this cool toy, right? And you play with the toy, you enjoy it, but then they take it away. And you feel like you've just been robbed, basically. So I don't want to like put too much blame on the players, because guess what? At the end of the day, you're the game designer, and it's up to you to solve this problem you just created for yourself. And I mean, these are hard problems. Like once the genie is out of the box, you have to really get creative. You have to really think about like what is the underlying problem, how you can address it, how you can find some middle ground so that you have an actual working game and the players are happy. And there is rarely a perfect solution. It's usually some sort of compromise. So I'm going to talk about what we did with Gem High specifically. in the game, we have this concept of legendary skills. So this is a normal skill, and you have the legendary. And legendaries are usually much stronger, but they're also like less likely to appear. And that means that you may hit the jackpot every once in a while and have that like power fantasy, but it's not something you can depend on to have every time. And so you still have the variety, and that is fine. That's what like we discussed about when we talked about work. So this is the solution. It turns out Gem-High is still busted and overpowered, even for a legendary spell. So we still had to put like a limiter on it. But since it's a legendary spell, we could have a higher limit so that it still feels fun to play without overshadowing everything else. And that's the middle ground I just talked about. That's a compromise, and sometimes people will still hate you for the nerfs. They won't be happy. Like, you can't keep everyone happy, but I believe it's a good middle ground. And if you have like a better idea on how to solve this, I'd be happy to talk to you after this talk. Yeah, and that brings me to my final point, which is listen to your community. It's a very important point, and you know how when you say a word 100 times, it kind of loses its meaning. So like meaning. What am I even saying at this point? It's just gibberish. The same can happen when you're working on a video game for years. You kind of become desensitized to some parts of it, and you need that community, that like fresh set of eyes to tell you like something obvious that you don't see because you're like this close to the game. And I believe we have a great community. We have people reporting bugs and talking about the balance issues and giving us suggestions and responding to our like posts that we make. It's on Discord, and it's just a great place to be. And we also have some fan art, a channel for fan art. And as a developer, this is like really like heartwarming because you feel like someone was so engaged and immersed in what you're doing that they were inspired to create art themselves. And that's just an amazing feeling to inspire someone so much. And we also have memes, by the way, which are also like amazing, thanks to the people making them as well. And I could probably make like a whole talk about community and how important it is. It deserves like its own like 7 lessons or something. But that's pretty much what I have time for. So yeah, thank you for listening. I hope this has been like a glimpse into what it takes to make an indie game and a good starting point for people that want to join the industry. Thank you.
Well, since we're like speaking in English, I want to say thank you so much for all the insights. Yeah. And Marto, I believe you have something to share with us.
Yeah. Just a question, because I presume not all of you have played That Must Die. Who have played That Must Die? All right. Do you know more or less the story of Realm Archive or That Must Die in the context of the Bulgarian game industry? How many of you know it? All right, cool. Well, first, the game is really addictive. So if you don't have 30, 40 hours on your time, don't try it. Friendly advice. Second, I'm super fond of the story because in the Bulgarian game dev industry, which I've tried to follow in the recent years, 20 years or so, there are not that many games that have been made into commercial success globally, while the IP is owned by a Bulgarian company. There are very few, and I would say that arguably most of the stories that Bulgaria has to share in this context are today with us on the stage. coming up later, and we had That Must Die. And I did not know that jab high was a basic skill. I was jab high almost all of the time, but only when you beefed it. So yeah, thank you very much. By the way, if you have questions for Simo,
Yeah,
he would be around. We are running a little bit short. We'll try to put the clouds back up in the sky. So he'll be around. So if you have questions, you can grab him. After that, what do we have, Igrit?
After that, we gotta relax. Afterwards, we're gonna be seeing here on the stage a bit of, I don't even know, wait, should I be talking in Bulgarian or should I be talking in English? Because this is so confusing for me.
I think English gives a nice segue because we are losing Igrit after this one.
Yeah, you guys are losing me. You're losing me in the studio. Практически след следващия панел ще съм тук в студиото на живо. Ще имам още интересни гости, които ще ги разпитвам малко по-неудобни въпроси. Аз така им казвам неудобни, но всъщност са много интересни въпроси. Честно казано, си говорим на един език и на една вълна, когато става въпрос за гейминг. А също така, Марто, пропусна да кажеш, има някой каза ли, че има над 12 000 ревюта That Must Die в Steam? Над 12 000 позитивни ревюта. Мисля, че това трябва да се подчертае. Това беше преди няколко месеца, преди бая време. В момента, ако отворя Steam, сигурно се е повече от 12 000. И продължава бройката. И който е гледал или знае Asmongold беше един от хората, които я игра тази игра. И може да гледате и неговия геймплей в YouTube. Така че...
Ние правим обратното на роустинг. Държим го на сцената и сипем суперлативи. Добре, благодаря ти още веднъж, аплодисменти за That Must Die и